On today's episode, we are looking at the finances of a 30-year-old man. He works as a software engineer. He is not married and has no kids and is currently building his portfolio so that he can retire when he turns 45. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Itumeleng. I'm a qualified management accountant, and on this channel, I help ordinary people like you learn how to start saving money, get out of debt, invest, and ultimately build wealth. If that is something you're interested in, please do subscribe and become a part of our growing rich family. Now let's look at the finances of our brother to see how the retirement plans are coming along. His net salary as a software engineer monthly is 44,800 rand. That is a nice income at 30. That is a big income. Let us now look at his savings and investments as well as debt balances. He has a tax-free savings account balance of 138,000, and then he has unit trust as well as ETFs balance of 108,000. Okay, and I said, all right, I see you have ETFs and unit trusts and you don't have any individual stocks. Why is that? He said, well, I like, the stability of the unit trusts as well as the ETFs. Individual stocks can be very volatile and I don't like that. I'm not into that kind of risk. Okay, that's fair. We know that unit trusts and ETFs are very stable, so they're going to give you nice returns over time. They're a bit slow, but over time, you're guaranteed to get the most out of your investments if you just give it a few years. And then he has a retirement annuity balance of 284,000 rands, company provident fund 326,000 rands. So those two, the retirement annuity as well as the provident fund, according to the South African laws, he cannot access until he turns 55. And our brother wants to retire at 45. So we need to make sure that outside the retirement annuity and the provident fund, that we have enough money for when he turns 45. And then crypto, 250,000 rands. Crypto, I thought you don't like volatile things. That is why you don't have individual stocks, only unit trusts and ETFs. But you have crypto here, and crypto is as volatile as they come. He said, yeah, it's now November. In July, this 250,000 rands was actually 400,000. So it has shifted that much. It has gone down by 150,000 rands in a matter of what? August, September, October, November. In just over 3 months, you have lost 150,000 rands. He said, yes, but the same way, in over 3 months, 6 months, this 250,000 rands could be at 500,000, 600,000. Okay, but, you know, that's a risky one. And we have a lot more invested in crypto than ETFs and unit trusts. But, it all depends on a person's risk appetite. He said he does not have much risk appetite, but looks like he does. And you know how it goes. The higher the risk, the higher the return. Like you said, this was 400,000 rands just a few months ago. And in the next few months, if the market, turns around, it could be much more. So it all just depends on what you are into. I'm with him on the individual stocks as well. The individual stocks are, more or less volatile like the crypto. 1 minute it's like shooting the roof, and before you know it, it changes very fast. And then just as quickly as you have accumulated your returns, you can quickly lose it. But like I said, the higher the risk, the higher the returns. I have an individual stock that's currently sitting at like 180%. So that one is like, my top performer as far as individual stocks are concerned. But I will be honest, I also have Thungela shares. Those that have Thungela shares know It has been down since I bought it. I have never seen profit on that thing. A friend of mine actually just disinvested hers, about 3 years ago. And I was like, it will rise up. It has never risen up. But, crypto is a bit different. Crypto tends to go up and then go down, go up and down. Okay, and then the emergency fund is 122,000 rands in total. Our brother's savings and investments balance is 1,228,000 rands. At 30 years old, I call that a win. Say what you want, huh? You say what you want. I know some of you like to talk the big game. You can say, but it's not that. Where's yours? Show us yours. Some people will give you constructive criticism, yet they have never constructed anything. If you have never constructed anything, just clap hands at this point. I want to see clapping of hands in the comments and nothing else. No constructive criticism, unless, of course, you've constructed something that we will welcome. 1,228,000 rands for a 30-year-old is outstanding. The only advice I would give him is to tone it a bit down on the retirement annuity. The company provident fund is already deducted from his gross, and he does not have much say on that. But the retirement annuity, it's flexible. You can modify how much you contribute. I know there are tax benefits associated with a retirement annuity, but like I already said in the beginning, he can only access this money once he turns 55 and he wants to retire at 45. So I would reduce the retirement annuity contribution just a little bit, not cancel it altogether because it does have its benefits, but that disadvantage of it only being accessible at 55, especially because he also have a provident fund that will also be accessible after 55, can be a disadvantage when he does retire at 45. So just reduce a little bit on the retirement annuities and put more on the ETFs and unit trusts, because those you can access at any time. They're not under pension fund rules. All right. Other than that, and maybe a little bit of a Tungela, I think he's doing great. His TFSA is maxed out every single year. That's amazing. He has an emergency fund. He has over 1.2 million invested at 30. So he's doing amazing. Debt balances 0, 0, 0. And I was just thinking how, over the past few months, what we've seen is, for a lot of people up there, it would be a reverse. Up there, it would be 0, 0, 0. And then a lot of, that 1.2 million would probably be the debt balance, because a lot of people don't have investments and they have a lot of debt. So what that tells me, like when I look at the reverse, is, your debt balance, how much you're putting towards debt every single month, has an impact of how much you can save. You already knew that. But that now we can see it, now we can see it in black and white clearly, that when you don't have debt or you don't have much debt, you are able to really maximize on your investments, because really your number one wealth building tool is your income. When you don't have your income going to iPhones, TFG accounts, you are able to max out your TFSA. You saw he makes a net income of 44,800 rands. That is a bit of an upper-ish income, in our country, but it's not that high, his income. So for him to be able to accumulate all this money that he has is because he does not have, other things on the side, iPhones on the side, BMWs, So now I want to give you a question to reflect on. I've seen some of your comments that after every video, you go back on your own finances and you reflect. So today I want to give you homework. I want to give you something to reflect on. If your debt balance was 0, 0, 0, how would your finances look? How much would you be able to put into your TFSAs, into your cryptos, into your retirement annuities? How would being debt free change your finances? And if the answer is, if I was debt free, I would be able to invest. I would have an emergency fund. I would have an investment portfolio that I'm comfortable with, that I'm proud of. Then being debt free might be worth it. It might be worth it to start working towards paying off that iPhone debt, the TFG account, so that you can have more money to put towards your savings and investments. It really does not matter how much you make. This is not just a saying. It does not matter how much you earn. If you are able to put away 1,000 rands, 2,000 rands into your own portfolio compared to giving it to iStore, you are winning. You're making progress. And remember, compound interest is the eighth wonder. What did Albert Einstein say? Did he say eighth wonder of the world? Yeah, whatever he said, compound interest is that. So if you're able to put any amount of money into your own investments compared to putting it towards the debt hole, then over time it's going to grow and give you nice returns. So I asked our brother about his retirement plans. I said, okay, you are 30 and you're already, investing heavily towards retirement. How did that come about? How did you get to that decision? He said, well, I work mainly from home. So there was one time when I went to the bathroom and my boss had been calling nonstop. When I eventually got back to my desk, I answered and he said, where have you been? I've been looking for you and couldn't reach you. He explained that he was in the bathroom and he says his boss didn't seem to accept that, that he's a human being and he uses the bathroom from time to time. He says that was so humiliating and dehumanizing, and he decided, that's it, I'm retiring. So from that day, he decided he's going to work towards his retirement plans. So I said to him, okay, Sam, if you don't like how your boss is treating you, why don't you just start your own company? Software engineering is in demand. So you could just do your own thing and actually hire people and be the boss you wish you had that does not bug people for going to the bathroom. He said, yeah, that's the thing. I'm not very entrepreneurial. I don't want to be a boss. I don't like people and I don't want to deal with people. And that is the reason I decided to stay at my job, because I love what I do. I love our clients. And my boss is just someone that I deal with once in a while. So I have decided that I am going to stay at my job. No entrepreneurship, no doing my own thing. I like the stability of having a salary. Okay. So that is where he's at. And now something else for you to reflect on. Have you thought about retirement? Are you going to be 60 and still in that office and you're doing TikToks with 2K kids? This is to the one case, of course. It got me thinking, how many of us are actively thinking about retirement? Because another thing we need to remember is we work so that we can get to a point in the future where we don't work anymore. We don't need to work. And whether or not you prepare for that time, it's going to come. And some of our pension funds might not be enough. Also look at your pension fund. How much is it? Is it going to sustain you in retirement? What kind of retirement do you want? When are you going to retire? And things like that. So we are really learning from our brother here. Let's look at his monthly expenses to see what else we can learn. Rent, 5,650 rands. That's another thing. He's not spending too much on rent. A lot of us are overspending on rent because, of many becauses. I'm not going to get into that. Electricity, 1,500 rands. Car, 000. He put that for me there so that we can highlight that his car is paid off. He said he bought a modest car second hand and quickly paid it off. Car insurance, 1,500 rands. Petrol, 1,000 rands. Like I said, he works from home most of the time. Food, 1,500 rands. So this is his groceries. Funeral cover, 560 rands. This covers him and his parents. And he says he has life cover at work. So that's fine, him having life cover at work. That will go to, whoever he names as his beneficiary in case of his death. bank charges 220 rands, gym 420 rands, fund money 2,500 rands. So you can see he also has fun, and he has set a budget for that. He has put aside money for fun, and that is 2,500 rands. He says that is the reason his grocery cost is so low, because most of the time he's just, out with friends and he eats out. Emergency fund, 10,000 rands. He says he wants his emergency fund to at least be 200,000 rands before he considers it fully funded. So he's going to contribute that 10,000 rands towards the emergency fund every single month until the balance reaches 200,000 rands, and then he can put the 10,000 rands towards other investments. RA 6,100 rands. Like I said, this is hefty. I said in the beginning that he can consider reducing the contribution. And then crypto, our volatile baby, he contributes 3,000 rands. And then TFSA, he says zero. He says he makes it out at the beginning of the tax year using his bonus. He gets an annual bonus from work, and when he gets that, he will just max out his TFSA and be done with it. That is a nice strategy. And another thing, another moment of reflection. What do you do with your bonus? A lot of us do receive bonuses. You have 13th check, and then you have all sorts of bonuses. What do you do with that? Because a lot of people will look at their bonus as if it's some sort of free money that does not hurt. You go all out on it, you give it away, you buy expensive clothes, you spoil yourself. While all that is not wrong, you should also consider your expenses and investments. That bonus money, they don't refuse it there by the TFSA, but we want to treat it like it's a different kind of money. Expenses and investments are only for monthly salary. And when you get an extra amount of money, you don't think about committing that towards some of your financial goals. So tell me about your bonus. Does your bonus advance your retirement? Does it advance your investment? Tell me about it. And then Easy ZA, this is EasyEquities, 5,300 rands. And then Google and Netflix, 310 rands. Wi-Fi, 1,000 rands. He is a software engineer, so he says he needs the top of the range. That is why it's so expensive. Black tax, 4,000 rands. This is the money he sends to his parents. In total, his monthly expenses, including investment contributions, is 44,560 rands. And he wrote there for me that that is 240 rands unallocated. So those are his expenses. And just back to the black tax, the 4,000 rands that he sends to his parents, that also got me thinking that a lot of us will sit and cry foul at the black tax, the amount we send back home to our parents to help them where we can. We'll say black tax is what is holding my finances back. This thing of having to help my parents is the reason I'm broke. But now we are starting to see that's probably not why you're broke. Okay, maybe it is, but sometimes it's not. If you look at the amount that our brother is sending, it's an amount that, he ran the numbers and then he said, I want to put this much into my investments. I want to put this much into EasyEquities and TFSAs and all sorts of things. And then he decided on an amount that's not going to strangle him or put him, leave him behind on his investments. So this 4,000 rands, he's able to give to his parents, gladly. It does not set him back because he has set up his finances. He has ran his numbers. So another reflection. Is black tax the reason you're broke, or is it the iPhone? And also, we have seen that black tax can, honestly, if we are being honest, in some instances, it can hold you back if you're not honest about how much you can contribute. Here's a man with over 1 million rands in savings and investments, and he gives his parents 4,000 rands. And that makes a lot of difference in his parents' lives. It's not killing his own finances. A lot of us are not honest with ourselves or even our parents or whoever you're helping about how much you can actually afford. So maybe if we run the numbers, also include your own goals so that in you helping back at home, you don't feel like, oh, but I could have, just something else to reflect on. So that is our brother. And something else I thought about when I was going through his expenses was I said, so do you have a woman in your life? He said, yes, I do, ma'am. I've seen comments, on past videos where some people say when a man does not pay girlfriend allowance, he tends to do well with his finances. I personally don't agree because I know people that do pay girlfriend allowances and they're still filthy rich. But then another thing that I know you guys are going to ask me is, okay, but do me, you don't ask all the questions. Did you ask him if he's looking for a humble woman to marry? I did ask. This time I asked. And he said, no, ma'am, no, thank you. So yeah, don't try to send him advances in the comments. All you do is just clap and just say, thank you for sharing your finances with us so that we can learn a thing or two. So I really hope you learned a thing or two or five from our brother here. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. What did you learn most about his finances? What area are you the same or where do you differ with our brother? And how are you going to implement some of the things that you've learned here in your own finances? Please don't forget to like the video. It really helps my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, I hope you have a rich day.